At the Julian Way, we empower individuals with disabilities to thrive in faith communities by breaking barriers and fostering belonging. Your support helps us create accessible spaces where everyone feels valued and seen. Join us in making a difference today at www.thejulianway.org. Together, we can build communities of belonging.
Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of Palsies with Palsies. I am your palsy, Justin Hancock.
And I'm your palsy, Bekah Marin Anderson. Hey, Justin.
Hello, Bekah.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going okay. It's been a bit of a week. We're in a bit of a post-Thanksgiving, come down, I guess, is the best way to describe it. But we've had today's been good, and I am anticipating a day off tomorrow full of Christmas classics. So, not bad.
Absolutely. Yeah, I know this will be coming out, a little bit after Thanksgiving, but right now, as we record it, we're a week out from Thanksgiving. So yeah, there's still like post-Thanksgiving stuff to process. Well, that's energy, emotion, time, all the things.
Dressing, stuffing, gravy, whatever you're going.
Leftovers, all the leftovers. I have a fridge full of leftovers, and it's a beautiful thing. I haven't had to cook a thing all week, and I'm so pleased.
It really is. There is nothing better than like turkey and gravy and a roll and some mayo like 3 or 4 days out from Thanksgiving. It's just, you're gonna make me need to go check the fridge and make sure.
This is Palsies with Palsies, the food connoisseur show. This week, Thanksgiving leftovers.
For all your chess pie and pecan pie related content.
I didn't get a pecan pie. Now I want a pecan pie. Signs.
I'll have to see what it takes to mail a pecan pie across state lines.
Expect there's an easier way to acquire this, but also the pecan pie shows my door. I would not look a gift pie in the mouth.
I mean, you sent me chocolates from Hawaii a couple of years ago, so
that's true.
I figure I owe you at least a pecan pie from the South. Okay, well,
anyway.
This is like a street. This is like one block over from where we were gonna land anyway. So
we haven't actually been off topic at all. Clearly,
we're not that far off. We may have just taken a left turn instead of a right turn.
And the reason for that is we're talking about the holidays this week. We're talking about all of the emotions that can go along with the holidays. And we've done an episode kind of like this in previous years. I expect you and I are mostly going to be talking about Christmas because that's what we celebrate. But I think a lot of the things that we're talking about could apply to whatever December celebrations and anyone has going on as well.
Absolutely. This would be, in fact, when I pitched this yesterday and then again this morning, friends, this is the way I framed it was the way it's usually framed. We should do a Blue Christmas show because it had been a while since we recorded pre-Thanksgiving, and we couldn't remember the discussions that we had pre-Thanksgiving. So,
if we told you we were going to talk about something else, remind us. But I don't think we did. I think we just told each other and forgot.
seafood coma related discussion of um, but as I said, this is typically what faith communities and what I guess culturally is known as the Blue Christmas or Blue Holiday observance. But we really wanted to widen it out, broaden the scope a little bit, I guess, because there's a lot going on right now in the world for those of you that are like listening to this on the way in from Neptune, I guess, and are unaware. I shouldn't be that glib. Some of our listeners do smart things like turn off the news occasionally, so
Fair enough.
may not be as maybe blessedly less informed than we have to be most of the time. But there can be a number of responses to the way that the weight and everything that's going on right now. In fact, this show was prompted because, to be frank, and Bekah knows this, and I think the audience knows this to more or less, who's been with us a while. I lost my dad in the spring, so this is the first holiday for my family without dad, and there are parts where I want to lean into the Blue Christmas, and I don't really want to think about the holiday without my dad, and there are parts where I want to I want to watch Elf twice and the Muppet Christmas Carol twice, and I want to have my mom's baked Chex Mix in a 10-gallon bowl instead of a 1 gallon. I want to do more holiday because I need to lean into some joy. So we really want to have a discussion about like all that is fine. However you want to approach this time of year is fine, and we hope that this conversation makes you laugh and gets you thinking about ways you can do that. So here we are.
Yeah, I would say like I think what Blue Christmas is responding to, because yeah, like like you just mentioned, Blue Christmas is kind of is often a service that churches will do, or some other observance that like that really acknowledges that holidays can be painful as well as joyful, and takes some time to say like if you are too sad or too angry, or like if holidays bring up really painful things for you, like this is a space that you can bring that. And I think what I'm really drawn to in this discussion today is just to widen the breadth of what emotions and experiences we can be having around the holidays. Because I think too often there is this sense of like enforced jolliness that's also like maybe sometimes a more surface level jolliness, right? That's like we're gonna take joy in buying presents, and like there's the like commercial joy of it all, and sometimes it doesn't feel like there's permission to say like actually something is hard here, something is painful here, but there's also something that I feel like the way that I am thinking about the holidays this year, and the way that at least some people I know are thinking about the holidays this year, also doesn't seem to fit into the traditional like holidays are supposed to be joyful vibe. And it is that exactly what you were just saying, Justin, that feeling of like, maybe I want to do the holidays extra hard right now. Like maybe the world is just really hard, and I need to just completely cover my apartment in sparkly tinsel and garlands that my cat will immediately destroy. because that's what's gonna feel good, and like there's something to that like feels like I guess what I'm thinking is like experiencing the holidays in context in a way
Yeah.
that the like just sort of prepackaged Christmas spirit feels like you're supposed to take the holidays out of context, and the holidays are supposed to be themselves no matter what else is going on. And this feels like an important moment to say, like, actually, no, the holidays are never just themselves, no matter what's going on. They're always contextualized, and the
Yeah.
way that we're experiencing them is always going to change depending on what else we're experiencing.
You always bring yourself and your grief and your joy and your ambivalence to whatever you're encountering. The holidays um tend to only oftentimes that's like putting it in a magnifying glass because
Mm-hmm.
it's just so much concentrated, whatever it is, joy or sorrow or ambivalence. It's
Mm-hmm.
just more. It's just, uh, for the last couple of years, even before Dad transitioned, my wife and I've had an expression whenever we get together with our friends Rebecca and Nico Mitz. We always say, well, the holidays are just more.
Mm-hmm.
Full stop. They're just
Yep.
wherever you are, you're there more in the holidays.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's just it's okay for that to be the reality. So yeah,
Mm-hmm. And I wonder if like that sense the you and I and a lot of other people have of like wanting to like at least in some respects do the holidays extra hard this year, and like and double the helpings of cookies, and I wonder if that's related to what we've talked about on the show before about the need to find joy in the times that we're living in, that like if the things that people are responding to are the political situation and the many painful things happening in the world right now, like I think for a lot of people there is this intuitive sense of like I got to go out and find joy. And so
yeah,
even if like this not everything about the world, certainly many things about the world and our personal lives are not bringing us joy right now, I think some of us like look at holidays and go, yes, more. That sense of reaching for joy is also more. And
yeah.
so leaning into that holiday joy.
Which is an interesting thing because it leads me to and forgive me, folks, and you may say, well, this is every other podcast. Why are you disclaiming it now? But this may just be a series of me asking existential questions to myself and to you to chew on, and hopefully opening vistas for
Mhm.
discovery as the holidays move on. But I think the interesting thing in that finding joy principle for me is uh, there have been moments in the last several weeks, since just before Thanksgiving, when my mom is in town. Like, my son wanted his own 3-foot Christmas tree for his bedroom
Mhm.
that he decorated on his own with stuff he bought. Uh, finger quotes he bought.
Uh-huh.
Um, so we took him to Home Goods when my wife was at a conference and my mom was in uh, being parenting help.
Mhm.
And that was one of the most authentically joyful experiences of my life because he just
Mhm.
watching a 7-year-old have his mind blown by the concept of Christmas is like Kris Kringle overload. Um,
Oh.
And so I've really held on to that and then like going to take a parenting break later that evening and coming back and seeing pictures of him having decorated the tree and having it decorated, and I've sat in his room as I'm putting it to bed, and I've just looked at that Christmas tree because it slows me down. Uh,
Mm.
and the other part, the flip side of that discussion is when our impulse is to reach for the holidays harder because so much of the world seems so uh, rough right now. I was going to use other words
Eh.
that were not Christmas related. Uh, it's so rough right now. It can be so easy to make that a frantic thing,
Yeah.
and the reaching for joy becomes exhausting. I don't know why, but there's
Mm.
this show on one of the home and garden networks. It's like Extreme Christmas Light Showdown, and that's
Oh
the
my
sort of
goodness.
energy I'm thinking about when we're sort of frantic and just trying to do it all. So how do we like lean into the holidays where we need to lean in and not cost ourselves
Hmm.
so much energy and rest trying to lean in? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I think what comes to mind for me is thinking about whether you are, reaching for that holiday joy to increase your joy or to try and decrease your pain. Because I think those things are different things, like, because we do talk on the show all the time about the importance of joy and having things
No.
to be joyful. However, we those things have to that joy has to exist alongside the things that are really hard. It
Yeah.
doesn't cover them up, it doesn't make them go away. And so if I mean that's leading to, the way in which the holidays can be really complicated, like you were saying
Yeah.
earlier. There's somewhat times that, like, you want to completely retreat from the holidays, and other times where you want to lean in as hard as you can. And my sense is like that retreat feeling is the need of paying attention to that pain, and giving it space, giving their space to not be totally joyful right now. And so I think when there's a balance between those things, like when we're acknowledging the less than joyful feelings that are present, and not trying to just make them go away, then when we come back and lean in real hard, that can be joy existing alongside pain, not trying to make it go away.
Yeah. I um I think that's right. Um I I don't know how to ask this question other than to just straight out ask it, because
Hmm.
um I have an absolute example of where something around this holiday is both the greatest joy I could experience outside of my family and agony,
Mm.
which was a hell of a teaser, right? I should just go and
Yeah.
tell you, but I'm curious before I do that because I don't want to like overwhelm the discussion. What does that balance feel like for you? How do you make sure you're
Mm.
paying attention to both sides of yourself? And if I can get a little bit personal here, what is that thing that is causing you to encounter the holidays slightly differently this year?
Yeah. I mean, I think it feels easier for me than it might otherwise have, because I feel like I've been practicing feeling my pain all year. That like by and large the things that are grieving me around this time of year this year are the things that I have been grieving and upset about all year is the pain and suffering that immigrants in this country are experiencing, that people living in poverty are experiencing, the healthcare problems and the ways in which that's going to be much worse in the coming year. Like, these are not new things to be experiencing pain from. And so, I've had my practices all year long of ways that I'm coping with any of the new things that add to that. And so I think I don't have holiday specific triggers this year. I think I'm trying to like go through what I've got planned and see I think what would be difficult for me is like I do feel like I'm a little bit scaffolding my mental well-being around making sure that the holiday things happen. Like, I'm thinking about I'm next weekend going to be decorating a tree and doing some caroling with one of my partners and their other partner, and like I just had this image of like, if that doesn't happen, I'm just going to be devastated. Like, that's in a way that like in previous years I would be sad, but I probably wouldn't be devastated. So I think maybe the thing that I need to work on this year is like making sure that's not the only scaffolding that I'm building my sense of joy around, and like actively reminding myself like holiday joy is a beautiful thing, and I can like take in as much of it as I'm able to at any given moment, but like that's actually not the only kind of joy that is available to me. And like I can be sad because like plans are going to change. Like, life is unpredictable, stuff happens, and I want to make sure that like I am okay when life happens.
Absolutely. So making sure that joy is spread out, as you said, on wide enough scaffolding, so if one thing kind of goes sideways for a bit, you don't fall over completely.
Exactly.
And by the way, I apologize if I triggered anything, because there was a part of that response that was giving me very much woman or friend looking under her bed and in her closet kind of that makes me think, let's see, what do I have? Making sure that nothing is hiding.
That's okay. I mean, it's a good practice for me to do, honestly, because I do have a habit of like not knowing what's going to like emotionally trigger me in some way until we get there. And so it is good to like take a little bit of a scan of the calendar or the holiday practices and think like, is there something that once I take a moment to think about it might be painful in a way that I hadn't been thinking about yet.
Absolutely. And I think, to kind of get back to what I was saying earlier, my dad went to Texas Tech, spent his entire life in West Texas, and except for when he was deployed with the Army, but always took Texas Tech with him. And wherever he went, and they are going to play for a conference championship for the first time in like 30 years this Saturday, and they've got a decent
Mm,
chance at going very far towards winning a national championship,
mm,
which my dad would be losing his mind over that concept. So for me, uh, I'm going to be watching that conference title game by myself on Saturday
mm,
because it will be an experience full of joy and also full of pain. Uh,
yeah.
and so you talk about like going over your calendar and findings, being aware of spots where you might be triggered.
Hmm.
I'm having to think about, okay, if I go watch this on my phone at Starbucks, so I'm not just a total mess the whole
Hmm.
time, how do I ritualize it? How do I mark
Yeah.
the fact that this is so much fun? And I've got a friend who's a local sports radio host that I've known for over 30 years, and we're talking about how much fun it is and how much dad would have been just a child at this time. But
Hmm.
how do I hold in an honored place? How very sad it is as well.
Hmm.
So, and
Yeah.
it's I wrote a little thing for him to read on the show this week, and I said, it's so much joy and so much sadness, and both of those things can coexist and deserve space. But just,
Yeah.
I'm in the process of giving both of those space and knowing how important they are to my holidays. So it's this very
Hmm.
weird 3 hour experience that has all of the holidays contained in it. It's quite strange.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. And like, and I imagine I imagine you're very much not alone in that kind of experience. That, like, especially when we're talking about grief, like, it is sometimes the things that we love the most that are also going to have a lot of grief attached to them because we shared them with someone
Yeah,
that we miss.
yeah,
And so, yeah, like, trying to figure out, you know you can talk about it on the show or not, as you like, but I would be interested to know, like, how you do end up ritualizing that, and, like, what kinds of practices end up working well for you to serve as containers for that grief and that joy.
yeah. I and really it didn't hit me until last night. Um, actually, today's Thursday, so probably Tuesday night when I was listening to my friend's show and being so excited and so sad and so everything that it took me 45 minutes to brush my teeth, and 30 of that was me sitting in the bathroom not moving, just frozen
Hmm.
with all of the emotion. So I was like,
Yeah.
I'm a spiritual formation teacher. I need to realize I gotta mark this with a practice of some sort.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and that's, like, I again, like, as someone who is not always great at predicting which of these things is gonna be a thing, like, I'm glad that you figured out before Saturday that
Yeah.
that this is going to be that kind of grief and joy filled experience. I was reflecting, and I hadn't mentioned it yet because I was figuring out how to. I lost my grandmother over the summer, and so this is going to be my first Christmas without her. And I don't really know when it's going to hit me because I haven't had super consistent practices of spending time with my grandmother on Christmas or around Christmas in a number of years. You know, like when my dad lived on the East Coast, like we would go and do a Christmas lunch or a Christmas Eve dinner. And in more recent years, I've tried to make time with my aunt and uncle to go visit my grandmother, but like, there hasn't been like an established tradition quite as much for a while.
Yeah.
But like, there's still like, I just know there's going to be some moment where I'm like, oh, she would have called me by now to ask what I want for Christmas, or like, January and be like, I should have had like some sort of treat that she made up and gave to me, after a visit. And like, I like in January, I would have had that, in my kitchen to snack on, and I don't.
Yeah.
Like, there's like, I'm not really sure which things it's going to be, but like, it's helpful to remember, like, there's going to be something.
Yeah, and I can tell you that we were decorating the rest of the apartment on I think Sunday night of this past weekend, and it was a smell, and it wasn't even a smell directly related to him, but it was more of a Christmas thing. And he was right there, and I was like, not even thinking that was going to be an issue, but thankfully what I was able to do is take like 2 minutes to myself and go, I'm sad.
Yeah.
And yet we're decorating the house. So I need to let people know I'm sad, and then, lean into the ornaments and yeah, and so it will hit you, and I will be thinking about you as you navigate this, because that's been the crouching around corners and never quite knowing where it's gonna jump out has been a definite post-Thanksgiving theme, I guess.
Well, and it's also weird. I don't know if you've experienced this in your grief, Justin, but like, I'm also finding that like, it's weird when like you look at something and go, oh, like I thought that was going to jump out at me and hurt, and then it kind of didn't. Like I remember thinking ahead of Thanksgiving, I was like, Thanksgiving is going to be rough because that's going to be the first Thanksgiving without Grammy, and like, that was her holiday, like we did Anderson family Thanksgivings at her and my grandfather's place for many years. And, so like, I made sure that I could spend that with my brother, and like, we had all these plans and like, I thought about her on Thanksgiving, but it didn't hit me the way that I thought it might. And so then there's like this weird feeling of like, oh man, why am I not grieving as much as I thought I was going to? And so just like holding space to remember that grief is complicated and like not linear and doesn't always make sense. And like, again, it was that thing of like, we hadn't done a Anderson family Thanksgiving together in many years, and so I think like that may still hit me in a different way at some other point, or it may be something entirely different that does. Like, you just never quite know which are going to be the things, and it's okay if the most obvious things you're like, oh no, I'm having Thanksgiving, and here's a toast to Grammy, and where's the pumpkin pie? Like, it doesn't mean you don't miss them. It just means that like your grief is processing somewhere else.
I think honestly, I was having the exact experience because
Mm.
Thanksgiving was Dad's holiday. Uh, he fussed at Christmas all the time because he was like, "Christmas, get the hell out of October." Uh, um, but so I was prepared for Thanksgiving to rock me, and then I honestly think my dad made the dressing for every Thanksgiving I can remember that he was
Mhm.
physically able to from the time I was real tiny. So a few days before I left for my trip with my in-laws, a friend of mine who was taking care of me at the time, and I had a hilarious discussion about Thanksgiving dressing, and dressing is not stuffing, and poultry season doesn't belong in dressing, but don't tell my wife, and Sage does, and and because she had very similar feelings to my dad, and it was 20 minutes of absolute screaming hilarity, and
Aw.
I think that was a good like grief vaccine, if I can say it like that.
Mm.
But as a friend of mine also always said, not the same friend, but a different friend, grief has a recoil. Like
Mm.
it's never the thing that you look at head on. It's always gonna get you on somewhere on the back end, which is not a bad
Yeah.
thing. But you will need to process it at some point.
Yeah.
So, on that note, and to kind of land the plane, Becca, if you don't mind, and if there's
Hmm.
more to say here, please feel free. Uh, but we always, or I like us to always end this kind of show by telling one another or any guest we have what are the if we're going to lean into Christmas real hard with Rebecca Anderson, what are we leaning into?
We're leaning into lights. I have window candles that I put up every year, and I haven't put up string lights in the past, but I'm feeling the need to. I feel like Christmas being bright and shiny feels very important to me. We're leaning into music. I've got a whole holiday playlist that mostly consists of folk and Celtic Christmas music, traditional English folk carols of different sorts, and that playing that and singing along to it feels very Christmassy to me. And we're leaning into cookies. I don't know when, but I'm going to be going to spend time with my mom and making all the traditional Christmas cookies. If I'm real on top of stuff, I'll make some when I'm in Hawaii visiting my dad, which is a very exciting thing that I'm doing this Christmas. Um, but yeah, like tasty sweet treats, lights, and music.
So, two follow-up questions.
Hmm.
Uh, Living in an apartment as I do and as we do, or
Hmm.
a rental situation as we both do. Uh, I love Christmas lights, but
Hmm.
that's such a like suburban. I have a roof. Like,
I know.
so what is your go-to Christmas light setup going to be, or do you know yet? Are you winging it?
Don't have it fully figured out. Like I said, the thing that I do already do and have planned is window candles. And I get battery operated window candles, so I don't have to try and plug them in and then don't trip over power cords all the time. and so those just sit on my windowsills inside the house, and you can see them from outside. Um, I don't think I am going to be putting other lights outside as much as I might like to, because exactly what you said, like, rental situation, roofs. But I'm thinking some string lights for the ceiling of my very tiny porch.
Nice.
I'm thinking some maybe in the kitchen, or maybe kind of framing my bed in my bedroom. I feel comfortable doing that, and like, not, I'm not too sad that I'm not sharing them more with the outside world, because I am lucky enough that my landlords do in fact do a good bit of that themselves. So the front porch of my house will be lit up with lights that my landlords will put up. So
Excellent.
yeah.
And follow up number two,
Mhm.
favorite or go-to Christmas cookie and or treat?
Turtle cookies.
Oh, good call.
I don't know why they're Christmas cookies, honestly, because I like, turtles are a thing, and turtle flavored stuff is a thing all year round. But in my house, turtle cookies are Christmas cookies.
Nice. Well done. Well played. No
And what about you,
notes.
Justin? What's leaning into Christmas look like for Justin Hancock?
Well, I'm a movie guy, so
Mm-hmm.
I will watch The Muppet Christmas Carol in July, but it really feels I'll hit it real hard in the 3 weeks or so between Christmas and I mean Thanksgiving and Christmas. So that's my
Mm-hmm.
favorite. That feels like I was trying to decide which movie to watch tomorrow on my day off because I have a list of like 4 or 5 that are must see or it's not a complete Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but Muppets is my absolute favorite. My wife looked at me and goes, "The week you've had, you need some Muppet in your life."
Yeah.
So that's the primary Christmas thing, and I guess I'm my parents' kid in this way. I get really, and I mean, I like Andrea Bocelli all year round, but I get really into Andrea Bocelli at Christmas.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Uh, and if I'm really needing to feel things, I'll put on his version of the Lord's Prayer because that's a little bit of how
Ooh.
it sounds like in heaven. I'm quite sure. Um, and there's a Josh Groban Christmas album I love, uh, and I think the Peanuts, the soundtrack to Charlie Brown Christmas, is not just a great Christmas album. It may be one of the best jazz albums ever made.
Mm.
So a lot of a lot of music and a lot of cinema. And my wife took over my her grandmother's sugar cookie recipe about 15 or so, 16 or so years ago. As far as I knew,
Mm.
she's been doing it for much longer. So I'll find my way to a sugar cookie eventually. I'm quite sure. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
movies and music.
Absolutely. I remember a couple of years ago, maybe last year, we did a Christmas movies episode specifically, I think, and
Yeah.
there was much discussion of Muppet Christmas Carol, because it is also essential viewing in
Yes.
in my family Christmas.
I'll I'll never forget reading an interview where Michael Caine said, "Okay, I'm gonna play this as though there are no Muppets on on screen. This is gonna be the greatest Ebenezer Scrooge you can imagine, and it just works
It
so
does.
beautifully."
It so does.
But that's another show. Let's go back and listen to last year's episode.
Yep. Friends, thank you so much for joining us. And if you've appreciated this episode, if something in it was helpful to you, we would love it if you would go rate and review us on Apple Podcasts or any other podcast platform that you use. It really helps people find us. You can also share the show with someone that you think might enjoy it. That is also super helpful as well. If you would like to support the continuation of this podcast, you can also donate to the Julian Way. That is how this podcast is funded. How that happens, you can go to thejulianway.org/donate. If you have an idea for an episode or something that you'd like to share with us, you can also email us. We would love to hear from you at pwp@thejulianway.org. And as always, you can find us wherever fine podcasts can be found, Apple Music, or Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, Spotify, iHeartRadio, all those good places. And friends, we are wishing you a holiday season filled with whatever you need to fill it with. Go out and put some joy into the world, friends. Goodbye.
Bye, friends.